I have to say I had probably been royal bencher at the Inner Temple for slightly longer than I had remembered.
In the dead of night, Princess and made a call that changed everything. A secret passed down by Queen Elizabeth, a hidden plan that could shake the monarchy to its core. What was inside the envelope that left King Charles speechless? Join us as we uncover the untold story behind the Queen's final move. For months, Anne's been the keeper of an impossible secret. A burden so heavy, even she, the royal family's Iron Lady, the princess who once told kidnappers to naff off, has struggled to carry it. See, when Queen Elizabeth II knew her time was running short, she didn't just plan her funeral. She planned the monarchy's resurrection, and she trusted only and with the blueprint. The Princess Royal's hand shakes slightly as she reaches for the telephone, not from age, but from the weight of what she's about to do. She calls King Charles first. Her brother's voice, groggy with sleep, sharpens instantly when he hears her tone. The Aurora Room. Now. That's all she says. That's all she needs to say. In royal speak, those 4 words mean everything's about to change. Next, she calls William. The future king, or so everyone believes, arrives within minutes. His protection officers confused by the midnight summons. No crisis has been reported. No emergency broadcasted. Yet here they are, 3 of the most powerful people in Britain, gathering in a room where Queen Victoria once plotted empire and where Elizabeth II made decisions that shaped the modern world. Sources close to that night describe an atmosphere thick with tension and doesn't waste time with pleasantries. From a locked drawer, one only she had the key to, she produces an envelope, cream-colored, bearing the Queen's personal seal. Her fingers trace the wax impression one last time before sliding it across the mahogany table that's older than some countries. Mother's final instructions. She says simply, not for the public, not for Parliament, for us. Charles reaches for it first, his signet ring catching the lamplight. As his eyes scan the first lines, witnesses say his face transformed, the color drained, his jaw clenched. The carefully maintained royal composure cracked like ice under spring sun. William leans forward, trying to read over his father's shoulder, but Charles jerks the letter away, his breathing suddenly ragged. "This can't be real," Charles whispers. But Anne's steady gaze tells him everything. This is real. This is happening. This is their mother's final chess move in a game none of them realized she was still playing. But what did the Queen write in her final letter? And why did it leave King Charles breathless and Prince William in shock? The answer would turn everything we thought we knew about the monarchy upside down. The unthinkable revelation. When William finally took the letter from his father's trembling hands, what he read changed everything he thought he knew about his future, and the future of the monarchy. The Queen's handwriting, still elegant despite her advancing age, spelled out a vision that defied 1,000 years of tradition. She didn't write about bloodlines or birthrights. Instead, she wrote about survival, about evolution and adaptation in a changing world. She wrote about a woman who'd entered their family as a commoner and somehow became its beating heart. "My dearest family," the letter began, according to those who've seen it. "By the time you read this, I'll be gone, but the crown remains." The question is, for how long? What followed was a masterclass in royal realpolitik. Elizabeth II laid out the cold, hard facts. Polling data she'd been secretly monitoring, Commonwealth nations preparing to cut ties, and young Britons who viewed the monarchy as an expensive relic. The Queen had seen the writing on the wall, and unlike her predecessors who'd ignored change until revolution forced their hand, she was proposing something radical. Catherine, not as support, not as decoration, as the future itself. The letter reportedly detailed observations spanning years. How Catherine had achieved something neither Charles nor William could. Universal appeal across generations, classes, and cultures. While Charles alienated with his opinions, and William struggled under expectations' weight, Catherine glided through controversy like water through silk. "I've watched her turn critics into supporters with a single conversation," the Queen allegedly wrote. "I've seen her comfort the grieving with such genuine warmth that they forget she's royal. She doesn't perform duty. She embodies it." But here's where it gets really wild. The Queen didn't just praise Catherine. She dissected the monarchy's failures with surgical precision, Charles's inability to inspire, the public's polite but lukewarm acceptance of his reign, William's visible strain under pressure, the hairy situation. Yeah, she went there too. And through it all, one constant: Catherine's ability to make the monarchy feel necessary, natural, even loved. Royal insiders claim the letter's most shocking paragraph came near the end. The monarchy's survival doesn't depend on who has the strongest claim. It depends on who the people claim as their own. And they've already chosen. We just need the courage to listen. William's reaction was seismic, but not with anger. Instead, witnesses say he went completely still. For 20 minutes, he just sat there, the letter clutched in his hands, his wedding ring glinting as his fingers tightened and relaxed. When he finally spoke, his voice was barely audible. She knew. All this time, she knew. The Middleton mystery. Now, here's where the story gets truly fascinating. To understand why Queen Elizabeth chose Catherine as a key to the monarchy's future, you have to know the woman behind the tiara. And trust me, the real Catherine Middleton story is far more compelling than any tabloid fantasy. Rewind to 1982. Ronald Reagan is in the White House. ABBA is breaking up, and in a hospital in Reading, a baby girl named Catherine Elizabeth Middleton is born. With no fanfare, no titles, and no hint that one day the Queen of England will be plotting to hand her the keys to the kingdom. Her parents? Middle-class flight crew. Her destiny? Whatever she made of it. But Catherine wasn't just growing up. She was quietly building something remarkable. When her family moved to Jordan when she was just 2, Catherine didn't merely tag along. Teachers there noticed her early ability to adapt, to cross language barriers, make friends, and find joy in the unfamiliar. Back in England, at St. Andrew's School, the 8-year-old wasn't dreaming of palaces. She was playing field hockey with fierce determination and organizing charity bake sales with military precision. A teacher who wished to remain anonymous once said, "When Catherine decided something needed doing, it got done, but she made everyone feel like it was their idea." Her mother's party supplies business? Catherine was there at age 5, packing boxes and learning firsthand that success comes from early mornings, hard work, and paper cuts, not waving from balconies. When the business flourished, the family didn't rest on their laurels. Instead, they invested heavily in their children's education and experiences, not to buy status, but to build character. At Marlborough College, while classmates were sneaking cigarettes and testing limits, Catherine was completing the Duke of Edinburgh Gold Award, military-grade outdoor survival training, months of preparation, mountain expeditions in freezing rain, and community service until her hands bled. The future Princess of Wales learned to read maps in the dark, build shelters from scratch, and push through pain when every muscle begged her to quit. And her gap year? While Prince William played polo in Argentina, Catherine scrubbed boat decks in Southampton. Picture this: the woman who would one day wear the crown jewels, up at dawn, hands raw from rope work, learning what real labor feels like. No photographers, no glamour, just sweat, salt air, and the quiet pride of a job well done. The St. Andrew's Secret. September 2001. The world was reeling from the Twin Towers collapse. Chaos unfolding everywhere. Meanwhile, at a quiet Scottish university, 2 young people were about to meet in the most unremarkable way imaginable. But here's the twist. Catherine didn't enroll at St. Andrews to meet a prince. She came to study art history simply because she loved it. William happened to be in her class. Former classmates paint a picture that utterly shatters the gold digger myth. Catherine treated William like any other student. When he struggled with an essay, she didn't swoon. She told him his arguments were weak and patiently showed him how to improve. When they ended up sharing a residence hall, she enforced the cleaning schedule with strict fairness. Prince or not, if it was your turn to scrub the communal bathroom, you scrubbed. But the real kicker? While other girls threw themselves at William, Catherine threw herself into her studies. She joined the Lumsden Club, organizing charity fashion shows, and waitressed at local restaurants. And I mean really waitressed, carrying heavy trays, dealing with drunk students, and miserable tips. One night, William reportedly walked in to find his future wife mopping up someone's spilled beer. Instead of embarrassment, she laughed and handed him a mop. Their relationship grew in private moments. Late night talks about art, philosophy, and whether the monarchy even mattered anymore. Catherine challenged William, supported him, and most importantly, saw him as William, not the future king. When they moved in together with friends, she insisted on equal rent payments, cooked spaghetti bolognese every Wednesday, and sang off-key in the shower. She was magnificently, unapologetically normal. Then came 2007. The breakup heard round the world. While tabloids screamed and photographers stalked, Catherine did something extraordinary. She simply lived, worked at her parents' company, organizing catalogs and managing accounts, hit London clubs with friends, danced until dawn, trained for a charity boat race. Through it all, she maintained a quiet dignity that even hardened paparazzi grudgingly respected. She never gave us the photo. One photographer admitted later, no tears, no drama. Just this quiet strength that made you feel like a bit of a bastard for following her. When William returned, and insiders say he practically begged, something had changed fundamentally. He no longer saw Catherine as just his girlfriend, but as his equal, a woman who had proven she didn't need the royal life, which made her perfect for it. This wasn't just a love story. It was a quiet forging of a future queen, built on grit, grace, and genuine strength. But the question remains, how did Catherine's remarkable journey shape the secret plan the queen entrusted to Princess N, and what does it mean for the future of the monarchy? Stay with us as we uncover the next chapter in this royal saga, one that could redefine everything we thought we knew about power, legacy, and the crown itself. The Royal Revolutionary. April 29, 2011. 2 billion people around the world watched as Kate Middleton walked down the aisle of Westminster Abbey. But here's what the cameras missed. In the car on the way to the ceremony, Catherine reportedly turned to her father and said, "From today, everything changes, but I'm still me. Help me remember that." And that's exactly what she did. While the world expected Diana 2.0, Catherine delivered something far more radical. Herself. No victim narrative. No palace wars. Just quiet, devastating effectiveness. She didn't rebel against royal protocol. She mastered it so completely she could bend it without anyone noticing. Take her charity work. Most royals show up, shake hands, then leave. Catherine? She remembers names from visits years ago. Shows up unannounced to check progress. One hospice worker shared, she visited officially in 2012. Then one day in 2014, no cameras, no entourage, she just appeared. Sat with a dying child for 3 hours. Held the mother while she cried. Never told anyone. The hair donation story? That's just the tip of the iceberg. Palace insiders whisper about Catherine personally funding families in crisis, calling survivors of tragedies months later to check in, and writing handwritten letters to every child she meets battling serious illness. One aide reportedly said, she keeps a notebook. Every person who's touched her heart goes in it. She follows their stories for years. But here's where Catherine's genius really shines. While doing all this, she never overshadowed William, never competed with Charles. She became indispensable by appearing dispensable. She revolutionized royal engagement by making it look effortless. She turned walkabouts into art forms, made tiaras feel accessible, and transformed state banquets into moments of genuine diplomacy. Her approach to raising royal children? Revolutionary, disguised as traditional. While previous generations handed babies off to nannies, Catherine does school runs, makes packed lunches, teaches George to ride his bike in the Kensington Palace Gardens. But, and this is crucial, she also teaches them their destiny. One source close to family revealed, she tells them they're special not because of what they were born, but because of what they must become. The crisis point. Fast forward to today. The Queen's letter has been revealed, and the palace is in chaos. The monarchy now faces a crisis that makes even the abdication of Edward VIII look like a mere hiccup. What many don't realize is that the modern monarchy survives on a razor's edge. One wrong move, one scandal too many, and centuries of tradition could crumble overnight. Charles knows this all too well. His approval ratings hover in the respectful but not beloved zone. His reign, while dignified, lacks a magnetic pull necessary to keep an institution alive in an age dominated by Instagram and TikTok. William feels the weight as well. Every public appearance is shadowed by the crushing expectation that he's the one who'll save them all. But what if the pressure becomes too much? What if the public simply stops waiting? Then there's a hairy situation. Explosive interviews, accusations of racism, and a family feud broadcast on global streaming platforms, leaving damage that's only beginning to be fully understood. Enter Catherine. Somehow, miraculously, she rises above the chaos. Even Republicans who want to see the monarchy abolished find themselves muttering, well, except for Kate. Critics who savage the institution begrudgingly admit, though Catherine does good work, she has become the monarchy's human shield, absorbing negativity and transforming it into reluctant respect. Queen saw this clearly. In her final years, she watched Catherine navigate impossible storms with a grace that seemed almost supernatural. The Meghan drama? Catherine remained silent, dignified, untouchable. The Rose Hanbury rumors? She showed up at events glowing, confident, making gossip seem absurd simply by existing. Every crisis that should have weakened her instead proved her strength. Constitutional experts, speaking off the record, revealed the Queen's strategic brilliance. Though she couldn't legally change the line of succession, she created moral pressure so powerful it might force the monarchy's evolution. By naming Catherine as the monarchy's spiritual heir, she planted a seed destined to grow, whether Charles and William wanted it or not. The impossible choice. Then came the moment that stopped everyone cold. When Catherine was finally told about the Queen's letter, when the full weight of what was being suggested hit her, she didn't grab for power. She didn't calculate political advantage. She did something so unexpected, so profoundly right, that it proved the Queen's judgment beyond any doubt. While many desire to lead monarchy, Catherine said, her voice steady despite the earthquake beneath her feet. Every wife also desires peace within her family. I need time to consider not just what the crown requires, but what love demands. Think about that. Really think about it. Here's a woman being offered the ultimate prize, the dream of dreams, power beyond imagination. And her first thought? Her husband's heart, her family's harmony. The very qualities that made her worthy of the crown were the ones that made her hesitate to take it. William's reaction, according to those present, was extraordinary. For the first time in his life, he saw clearly what his grandmother had seen. Catherine wasn't just his wife. She was a superior in every way that mattered, not by birth, but by character, not through privilege, but through proving the woman he'd married had become something bigger than any title could capture. Charles found himself in an impossible position. His mother's wishes are clear, but constitutionally impossible. Yet Catherine's response had given him something precious. Time to think, space to maneuver, room to imagine a future that honored both tradition and necessity. The monarchy didn't need revolution. It needed evolution. And evolution takes time. This moment wasn't retreat. It was a turning point. Catherine's thoughtful pause showed true strength. Proving leadership is about more than power. It's about purpose. The Queen's vision, Catherine's response, and William's change have set the stage for a new kind of monarchy, one ready to evolve, not collapse. The future unwritten. So here we are. Dawn breaks over London, painting Buckingham Palace in shades of gold and shadow. Inside those walls, the greatest constitutional crisis in modern history unfolds in whispers and careful steps. Catherine continues her work, but everything's different now. When she visits a children's hospital, people wonder, is this their future queen? Not a queen consort, hidden in her husband's shadow, but a queen in her own right. When she speaks about mental health or early childhood development, they hear echoes of the Queen's letter. This is what leadership looks like. This is what the monarchy needs. William watches his wife with new eyes. At public events, he steps back slightly, letting her light shine brighter, not from weakness, but from wisdom. He's beginning to understand that perhaps the greatest kings are those who recognize when someone else should lead. Their private conversations remain private, but body language experts note a new dynamic, partnership elevated to something almost sacred. Charles navigates carefully. He can't abdicate based on his mother's letter. He can't officially name Catherine as successor, but he can prepare the ground. More responsibilities shift her way. Foreign leaders request audiences specifically with her. The palace machinery, ancient and creaking, slowly reorient itself around a new center of gravity. The British public watches with fascination. Polls show something unprecedented. Support for monarchy rising, but specifically support for Catherine. Young people who dismiss the institution as archaic find themselves defending it, but only when her name's attached. The very groups the monarchy was losing suddenly see a future worth preserving. And perhaps that's the Queen's greatest masterstroke. She didn't create a succession crisis. She created a succession question. Not who should rule, but what kind of ruler the modern world needs. The answer walks palace halls in designer dresses and muddy boots, comforting the grieving and challenging the powerful, proving every day that the best leaders are those who never sought to lead. Tonight, as fog rolls across London again, Catherine sits with her children. Homework help, bedtime stories, normal mother things. But somewhere in her mind turns a question that would define the monarchy's next century, not whether she can do it. The Queen already answered that, but whether doing it serves a greater good. In that hesitation, that careful weighing of personal happiness against public duty, lies the very quality that made a dying monarch believe she was the only one who could save the crown, the woman who could be queen precisely because she doesn't need to be. Future remains unwritten. But one thing's certain, the monarchy will never be the same. The Queen's final gambit has already succeeded. She's forced evolution through revelation, change through challenge. Whether Catherine officially becomes queen or remains the power behind the throne, she's already transformed what the crown means. And maybe, just maybe, that was the plan all along. The crown is no longer just a symbol. It's a promise of change. Catherine's quiet strength shows us that true leadership comes from heart, not title. The future of the monarchy is uncertain, but one thing is clear. A new era is on the horizon, shaped by those who lead with grace and purpose. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the future of the monarchy, please like, share, and subscribe. Your support means everything, helping bring more stories like this to light. Thanks for watching.